で、香港に派遣されまして、香港で中国語を勉強しました。で、香港はもともと広東語の町なんですよ。中国語のいわゆる北京語の町じゃないんです。だからいつも、あとはまた話しますけども、私がこのバンクーバーで例えばどこに中国語の意味なんかですね。Especially, are there any Chinese speakers here? One. Okay. I will again make the point that very often I hear from Chinese immigrants who come here and say, well, it's so difficult to learn English here because there's so many Chinese and I never... So, just another excuse. Hong Kong was not a Mandarin-speaking environment, but I learned Mandarin. And I learned it basically in 8 months. But I did it my way, and I learned how to learn efficiently. Because I had to learn in a hurry. And I make the point because I have learned languages in different situations. I have learned, for example, at school I learned French, but I couldn't speak it. But then I got interested and I went to France. I learned Chinese while going to school, 3 hours a day, 5 days a week, one-on-one. But I did most of the work at home. Most of it I learned on my own. 中国語を勉強したときに毎日3時間1対1で勉強します。だけども、ほとんどの仕事は自分で、勉強は自分で毎日5、6時間、テープを聞いたり、繰り返して同じものも聞いたり、できるだけこの中国の発音も真似して、そして中国の場合は日本語と同じように漢字がありますから、この漢字の勉強もものすごい時間がかかりました。でそれを、勉強するためのシステムを開発しました。だけどほとんどの、努力をね、実際には自分で。だけども、政府がお金払ってましたんで、1対1で毎日3時間、先生と行っていろいろ話も会話もしましたけども、ポイントはその環境、一番その理想的なその言語環境じゃないにしても、そこで本人がそれだけ意思があれば勉強できます。その次は東京に派遣されました。今度東京の場合は、学校は行かなかった。By the way, you don't follow Japanese, right? I'll try to mix back and forth. 我们也可以讲一点中文，帮你明白。但是讲英文你也听懂。你也是啊
I'm not from. I'm from Indonesia. Can
Is
you
it-
speak Indonesia?
No, I can't. Sorry. Next one, I'll go after the invitation. Are you a teacher? So then I went to Japan, and I'll mention the Japan experience because I didn't go to school, but I said to myself, within the first 6 months, I have to learn Japanese. So I'll come back to this later on. You have to have a goal. You have to have a goal. And it is too easy. It's too easy to live in Japan as a North American and just speak English. It's easy. You can join the American club. You can go to certain restaurants. I work for the Canadian Embassy. I speak English at work. No problem. You can live speaking English. And the longer you stay there speaking English, the more comfortable it becomes to live there speaking English. So I said, within the first 6 months, I've got to learn Japanese. So that's what I did. And it meant a lot of listening, finding books, CDs. Again, my system, lots of listening. So that was in Tokyo. Then once you've learned, okay, French, Chinese, Japanese, you start getting the feeling that you are confident, that you know how to learn languages. And I'll get later on the whole issue of attitude. But as you've done 3 or 4 languages, you feel you can learn a language. Any language. Doesn't matter. I can learn. So that confidence is very important. Because someone who has not mastered a second language, has not had the experience of becoming fluent in a second language, doesn't believe they can do it. So I think once you gain that confidence, that is very powerful in making you really go for learning another language. More recent, so I worked in other languages. At my home, I have CDs for every language, books, and so forth. 5 years ago, I went after Cantonese. And I know Hilton and I go Anyone here understand that? All right. So I went after Cantonese 5 years ago. Then I did Korea last year. And when I say I did some. And I'm working on Russian right now. the biggest problem, and I think part of my motivation for creating the linguist system, このリングシステムを作った大きな動機の一つがですね、私自身のそういう外国での水準はね、もっとありたかったんです。だけども、例えば CD 聴いてもね、わからない単語とかわからないところはいつまでたってわからない。で読んでもね、知らない単語はですね、辞書調べてもすぐ忘れちゃう。だからこの仕事は非常にもう無理なんですよ。いくら読んで辞書調べてまた忘れると、だって覚えは大きくなる。あるいは CD を聞いてもね、いつもわからないところがいつもわからないままではね、非常にフラストレーションします。だからもっと効率のいいシステムがあるはずだと思ってリングシステムですね、考え始めこの私自身についての話はもうそこまでにして、だけどもキーポイントは1961年、私16歳の時と今の60歳、今年寄りになってですね、language learner としてはね、能力がね、16歳よりもはるかに上、だから言葉の勉強はね、若い人しかできないとか、たくさんあるんですよ、個人ですね、勉強しない人たくさん持ってます。その中は今もうなんか硬くなってるとか、全然そうじゃないです。今私が実際に感じている去年の韓国語の勉強、今のロシア語の勉強の速度はもう全然40年前のフランス語とか中国語の勉強の速度とは全然違うんです。I'm just saying I'm a much better language learner today than I was 40 years ago. And yet the theory is that you have to be young to learn languages. Not true. People invent a lot of excuses for why they don't do better in language learning, but age doesn't work. It's not true. It's not true. And I should add that there has been scientific research which has shown that our brain remains plastic until, quite an advanced age. So I don't think my brain is fossilized yet. And of course, language has benefited me tremendously. And when I wrote the Linguist book, which is written in English, the objective was to persuade people to learn other languages, not English. The book is written in English for people to feel confident and encouraged and stimulated to go out and learn other languages. Because learning languages brings you tremendous rewards. Personal rewards. I can go and visit in Barcelona, in Peking, or in Tokyo, or in Paris, and you can make friends with people, you can communicate, you can read books in different languages. It helped me in my business. I have a lumber business. I would not have been able to build up that business without my language abilities. And I think it's obviously true for people who live here in Vancouver, who are here as immigrants, that the level, and particularly for professional immigrants, the level of English that is required is quite high. It is quite high. If you are an engineer and you want to sit in on a meeting and you want to explain something to a customer, a specifier, a technician, you have to be able to speak well. And so the standard required is high. But people can reach that standard. So let's now look at what is required. How does one become a good language learner? And I use the word linguist to mean someone who likes to speak and is good at speaking more than one language. Because if you look in the Oxford Dictionary, there are two definitions. One definition is someone who studies languages. I'm not interested in those people at all. The second definition is someone who speaks more than one language and enjoys speaking more than one language. That's the kind of linguist that I think potentially in the world we have millions of people who are not realizing their potential as linguists in that second sense. The first and most important element in language learning is attitude. 態度が一番大切。what is it called? 天才とかそういう能力よりも人の態度が一番大事。どういう態度？ Number one, take charge. 自分が責任を持って指導権を取って勉強しないとなります。So I'm going to use my